Welcome to Dualshock'd, the Brotherhood of Geeks PlayStation podcast. I am one of your hosts, Brett J. Rasmussen, and over here I got my other co-host.
That's Spectre?
Yeah! Happy Christmas, Spectre!
Happy Christmas.
Yeah, man!
That's very offensive.
What? Why is that?
You're starting this off on a really wrong foot here. It's very offensive.
Why? Why that? No, it's not. This is
the most offensive holiday of the year.
I don't know what you're talking about, but okay. Happy holidays also to you, Spectre. Then okay.
No, I love people that kind of get up their own asses about that. You know.
Okay, well, but only you, Spectre. Anyway.
No, don't say Happy Holidays. Say Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Happy Christmas. There you go.
Happy Christmas.
Happy Christmas. But anyway, how you been doing, man?
Good. I'm kind of getting back into the swing of things with PlayStation.
Yeah.
I had, I basically had my PlayStation down for about a month or so, and moving and stuff like that. I mean, it's you don't really find time to game. You know, you're so busy and absorbed in that process. So basically I was just playing WoW. I'm still playing WoW Classic. But now the PlayStation's back up and running again, and I'm about halfway through for Medieval right now.
Nice. How are you enjoying that?
Fan-freaking-tastic. I love every second.
I knew you were going to like that.
I mean, there's some minor little things that were lost in the translation from the PlayStation 1 to the PlayStation 4. I know we had a different experience. I know you never played the original.
No, I did not.
And I was different, totally different experience. Drink, of course. I grew up with the PlayStation 1 title. That was actually like the second game I got on PlayStation 1. It was just a random thing that I think my grandmother gave it to me. She didn't even know what it was. She was like, oh, here, this is, she goes to the, back in the day, there was no internet or anything. You just go to here's the Walmart. Just give me that one, and we'll give that to him, and hopefully he likes it.
Yeah.
And it turned out that's like one of my favorite games on that system.
Yeah.
So just fantastic. Really great experience. I mean, it's a short game, so I'll probably be done with it within the next week or so, with the platinum and everything as well. I know you already platinumed it.
Yeah, I did actually, yes.
But just fantastic. Just a love letter to the fans. I really hope we get a Medieval 2 eventually with the same treatment. I really like these these remakes, whether it's Crash or I gotta play Spyro eventually. I know that's great too.
Yeah.
I just really think
Plat's easy too.
I just really think they
actually easier than Crash.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, really easy.
Well, Crash is a little difficult at times. Definitely,
it's time consuming. I mean, it's
time consuming, and there's hardish levels in it, definitely. So, but yeah, no, really fantastic game. And then after I'm done with Medieval, I plan to get back into some other things. Like I have Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, the new one from this year, and I will actually be playing in violation of my boycott. I will be playing Jedi Fallen Order. To check that out and kind of give my thoughts on it.
It is good. It is good. Like I'm absolutely very happy with that game.
Well, it can't possibly be worse than the movie that just came out. So.
I actually have seen it. I enjoyed it.
I know you would.
I actually did. Like, mind you, I do have some questions, some things, but let's not get into it because some people may have not seen it.
Yeah, no, I haven't even seen it. I've heard absolutely horrible things about it. Okay. I don't have any intention of seeing it. I don't want to give them money. I don't want to support them. So
okay, but just going back to Medieval, that was my first experience with it, and I've never played Medieval before, so playing that was truly just kind of its own experience. Now, it very much feels like a game from the 90s, for good, for better, and for worse. They did do some things, but some things in it to make it a bit better, but it very much, Other Ocean kind of had two choices. Either they could try to make it as true to the original game as possible, or they could do that, but then try to modernize it. But by doing it, could turn away the fans who used to play it back in the day. And I actually, for better and for worse, as I said before, I'm glad they did go with this is going to be very much what you remember, but the graphics have been redone.
I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad they kept it basically a 1-to-1 for the most part in terms of the gameplay portion of it. I think the flaw, if you could really point to it for Medieval, and I noted this, at the time, even as a kid, I kind of realized this was I really went through this game pretty fast compared to other 3D platformer type of games like Mario, for example, Mario 64. That was roughly around the same time.
Yeah.
But I think part of it for Medieval is it leveraged the power of the PlayStation. It was very cutscene heavy for its time. There's a lot of cutscenes in the game, which is kind of surprising but the cutscenes are more so to help establish the tone of the game and the charm. So I think between that and it's that kind of took a big chunk of the space essentially for the game. So that compared to like Mario, where Mario didn't really have that on the Nintendo 64 you didn't have that same amount of storage space. So you couldn't just load it up with cutscenes and all this stuff. It was more gameplay heavy focus. Yeah. So, but yeah, still just a fantastic game. Probably one of the most charming games I could really point to. Just funny, very unique. It's hard to point to a lot of games that have a similar tone to it. Yeah. But just a really great experience. I would say that it's definitely something that. If you're a fan of the original, definitely 100% go ahead and pick it up. If you're someone that's new to it, I would say definitely at least give it a try. And then one of the unlockables in the game is the original PlayStation 1 version. So I guess
really like that.
I'd recommend at least dipping your toe into that and trying that, and you can kind of see what we're appreciating about this update.
Yeah, but it's definitely a great game. But yeah, I've actually been playing a lot of different games. I'm trying to juggle. I've been trying to juggle multiple different games. I'm playing Death Stranding on top of playing Jedi Fallen Order, on top of playing Resident Evil 2, on top of playing at The Outer Worlds. So I've been trying to kind of prepare myself.
A little bit of everything,
yeah. Trying to prepare myself for this episode. So this episode is our Christmas episode. But we are also turning this into our Game of the Year episode also. So there's no news. We're not going to be talking about any news. It's just going to be me, Spectre, going to be just hanging out. We're going to be talking about our top 5 games of the year. And then the number 1 game would be the Brotherhood of Geeks Game of the Year, and we're also going to choose our own personal Game of the Year, so like what I liked and what he liked, like outside of the Brotherhood of Geeks Game of the Year. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like our own personal.
Yeah. So in how it worked is that every member who is a part of the team of the Brotherhood of Geeks, so myself, Spectre, Guru Blaze, and a few other members behind the scenes have thrown in their choices
this
of
mystery shadowy
have put in their votes for what their choice of Game of the Year was. And the top 5 are kind of like our nominees. Just to kind of go ahead and kind of give a rundown of how all this works. Does that make sense?
I'm lost, but let's continue.
Great job, Doctor. Thank you.
So I guess we'll start with the nominees then.
So yes. So we'll just go ahead and begin with our PlayStation conversation, which is going to be the whole thing.
PlayStation.
So for the first game that I want to bring up is actually a more recent game, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. I want to begin there.
Okay.
So, have you started playing that game? No,
not yet. I have the game. I just have not started it yet. I really wanted to finish Medieval.
So
first.
I know on past Dualshock'd episodes you have said that you have been boycotting EA. And you when they announced this game and everything, you were like, nope, I'm not playing it. I don't care. Nope, I don't care.
Yeah, and really, I mean, a big part of me is just playing this almost just for like review purposes to kind of play honestly just to play some of the big games of this year. And because I feel like I've really been, I think I explained this last episode. But I feel like I've really kind of been out of the loop this year in terms of like console gaming, PlayStation gaming. My focus has been more so on. Obviously I had the Move, but also on, things like WoW Classic this year, the build-up for the Warcraft 3 Reforged, which is actually coming out next month. So I've really been very focused on PC, which, I mean, that's kind of what my natural setting really is PC. I've always been a big PC gamer. So I feel like I kind of missed out in a way, if that makes any sense. So I kind of want to play some of the big games of this year, at least the ones I know that I might get some enjoyment out of. I know like I know I won't enjoy Outer Worlds. I know I wouldn't enjoy any part of Death Stranding, for example. So those are games I don't intend to pick up. Maybe Control I might try if I ever see it for like under $20 or something. I might just be like, okay, whatever, I'll give it a shot.
Okay.
Even though I don't expect to like that at all. But Star Wars Fallen Order, I guess I like the concept of the setting of it. Kind of this taking place in between Episode 3 and 4. I like the idea of where it's taking place. I like, there's nothing really about the characters and setting that immediately off-puts me. Maybe the characters a little bit, but I guess going into it, there is some promise to it, and it looks like it actually is. My understanding is the game is something of like a Metroidvania style game, where you have like an environment where you get different upgrades, you kind of explore different aspects of it. That's a general term for those type of games where you have like a big, gigantic, kind of sort of semi-open world area, and you can explore different parts of it as you progress. Just like in Metroid, just like Castlevania games after Symphony of the Night, for example. So I guess that's kind of what has me intrigued by it. I will be playing it. Obviously, I can't talk too much in detail about the game because I haven't played it yet. But I know that you've played it. And have you finished it, or are you basically?
I have played a lot of that game. With Jedi Fallen Order, I'm loving it. I have found myself that I spend more time with that game than kind of the other 4. And I think it's like, because as I said, I've been juggling Death Stranding, Jedi Fallen Order, Outer Worlds, and Resident Evil 2 all at the same time. So that way I could be here and I'm like, all right, let's talk about this. Also, by the way, what did you think about Star Trek? Yes. It's a Christmas sweatshirt, yes.
Very nice, yeah.
Aren't you all Christmassy?
Very Christmassy, yeah. No, I don't.
You're just wearing Fallout 76.
Yeah, I'm still rocking the contrarian view there. Right?
You're rocking the contrarian.
Although this is kind of relevant because they are starting to kind of release some of the details of the new expansion of sorts to Fallout 76, the NPC expansion. So, as we shall call it. But yeah, no, I'm still rocking my point of view that I did have some fun with that game.
That's fine. I'm not going to go ahead and tell you that your opinion is wrong or bad. It is, but you can have your opinion.
But speaking of my opinion a little bit, I kind of hinted at it earlier. The other kind of hang up I have with anything Star Wars related is I'm definitely in the camp of not someone that enjoys modern Star Wars.
Oh, you're a straight purist.
Yeah, by modern Star Wars, I mean mostly everything after 2015, Force Awakens and beyond. I'm not really a fan of anything new Star Wars that I've seen. I was entertained by Rogue One, but otherwise, I haven't seen much since then that I've really enjoyed. Not that anything before that, like the prequels, were great either. But I guess in a way, I am a kind of a purist. I'm an original trilogy purist. That's just my perspective on it. I don't think I'm going to change my mind on it. But
barely change your mind about literally anything.
But that's where I'm coming from. But I mean, Star Wars video games are a little bit different, though. I mean, you have some really good shining examples of some awesome games in there. Obviously, some of your favorite games, like The Old Republic.
That's actually my favorite game. Period.
Yeah, your favorite game. Full stop. Go back a little bit further than that. Shadows of the Empire. I really enjoyed that game.
Republic Commando.
There was even
Jedi Outcast and Jedi Academy.
Galactic Battlegrounds.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been a lot of good, Battlefront. Obviously, there's been a lot of old
OG Battlefront.
Old Battlefront. Yeah, there's been a lot of good Star Wars video game properties. There's been a lot of stinkers as well. But I mean, I guess that gives me a little bit of hope for this. It's like, if they can't make the movies right anymore, then maybe the games can still hold the torch, So that's kind of where I'm coming from.
With what I do like about Jedi Fallen Order is that I don't know what it is, but a lot of games are playing similarly to like the Dark Souls. Like it has a stamina bar or whatever. This game doesn't. It actually has a force bar, and how you build it up is that you have to attack, but you can't. But if you can't really take damage. It's all about parrying and blocking and dodging. You can't just go ahead and just press square and triangle and just kill the crap out of them, out of enemies. You have to be able to block, and you feel vulnerable.
Okay, so it's not like it's
not like Force Unleashed. It's not like Force Unleashed where you're just a god.
Death machine, yeah.
Which I love Force Unleashed. I think that game is so much fun. It had a great story. I
wouldn't say it had a great story. I would say
there are better stories, but like I enjoyed the story that was given.
I would say that the only thing I could finally look back on Force Unleashed was just the gameplay and the overall presentation was nice. But in terms of the story, I think it was like a laughably bad fanfic. The story of that game fits well in line with the modern Star Wars in a way.
Whatever, Spectre. But
whatever.
With Jedi Fallen Order, with the story, you play as Cal Kestis, and it takes place 5 years after Order 66. So it's very, very.
I will say right off the bat, before even playing the game, I'm kind of very surprised by the protagonist choice that they made.
Why?
Just in terms of, I guess, I mean, this is coming, the elephant in the room. This is coming from EA, and they're known for their, I guess, kind of progressive choices for games. And it just seems odd that you would just pick a kind of a, presumably straight white guy.
I don't know.
Right?
Who cares?
I'm just saying it just seems weird to me. I mean, like, you think they'd pick a more progressive choice.
Whatever, dude.
It's not whatever. This is what they care about. This is what affects their mind on a daily basis. This is what they're thinking about in their mind of like quotas and like, oh, we gotta have progressive characters in it. And I know there are a lot of female characters represented in the game, from my understanding, but it just seems weird to me. I'm not the only one to point this out, that they would pick just a milquetoast straight white guy as the main protagonist, unless he's not straight or something, or so there's something else I'm missing about this character.
Honestly, who cares? If the
EA cares.
That's not the point, Spectre. Like,
that's the entire point.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
That's the entire point, which is
I do not want to go ahead and go down this rabbit hole right now, because no, like, whatever. Right now,
you have to admit it is a little weird, though.
I can see where where your brain is thinking, but like, because I know you, but like,
these are the same people that put a woman on the cover of a World War II game. So it seems weird to me. It really does, and I have to point that out.
Okay. Anyway, so you play as Cal Kestis, who pretty much it takes place 5 years after Order 66, and he's on this pretty much planet called Braca, and it's pretty much like a garbage planet where the leftover remnants of the New Republic is being scrapped. Like, you see old Republic destroyers being like changed into the new Star Destroyers of the Empire, and that's where he stays. So that way he's like unknown. But all of a sudden he saves one of his friends using Force powers, and then the Sith Inquisitors show up along with members of the Empire to pretty much do their normal rounds. But one of the Sith Inquisitors senses Cal as a Force user. And the thing with the Sith Inquisitors is that these are Jedi who were either forced into working for the Empire, or Padawans who either also were forced or chose to join the Empire also. These are also Force-sensitive users, too.
Yeah, I don't like the idea of all that. I don't like the idea of having, a thousand. It kind of takes away the mystery of the Force in a way that everyone. And this is kind of the direction that modern Star Wars has gone in, where everyone is Force-sensitive. It kind of takes away the mystique of it in a way.
It's not everyone. It's past Jedi that they chose.
I don't like the idea. I like
it's either that you join us or die.
Once upon a time, there was this idea of the rule of two, and that there was only two Sith in the universe, and I kind of like that idea that it was just it was Vader and the Emperor, and they controlled this vast empire, but they didn't have all these like little Sith underlings to them, that they were like. Putting all these work out too. I just don't like I still like that idea, I guess. But whatever. I think, I mean, they bring it up a lot. I think it's because it's a way to make characters a little bit more interesting. It's a way to make characters in a video game context a little bit more powerful. Instead of just fighting like a stormtrooper or something like that. You're fighting, here's a Sith, guy or whatever, so I understand why they do it. I just don't like it from a story perspective and a feels perspective. I just wish it was more so like, it was just the Empire hunting them down. It wasn't these,
No, they are part of the Empire.
I know, but these wannabe Sith or whatever,
Wannabe Sith? Like...
Yeah,
that's just the name. You could, like, they're just the Inquisitors. They are Force-sensitive, like, Jedi or Padawans who chose or were forced to join the Empire.
I don't know. I'm just not too crazy about having all these, Sith running around. It kind of goes against kind of some of the established lore that they had before. But whatever, that's fine.
But that's kind of how it begins, and you pretty much that's how it begins, and you are now tasked with rebuilding the Jedi Order, or at least what's left of it. And with the combat, with the gameplay of it, as I said, you cannot take hits. It's very hard for you to take hits, and you have to know how to dodge and stuff like that. Hence, kind of like that Dark Souls-esque. It is.
Is there like an RPG element to it as well, where you kind of like level up?
Yes, every time you kill enemies or find collectibles, you get experience. And once you max out, you get a skill point that you can use to get new abilities, pretty much more combo moves, or more health, or better way to block, that kind of stuff. Throughout the game, you're going to be getting different force powers, different abilities as you progress through the game itself. Also, but when you die, if you haven't built up to a skill point, so let's say you have half experience, if you die, you lose all of that. In order to gain it back, you have to go ahead and attack the enemy that killed you. Whether it's a stormtrooper and a wild beast of the native planet, or whatever it would be.
Okay,
so,
I kind of like that.
It's like it's that Dark Souls-esque style of game. Darksiders 3 used that kind of same gimmick in their game. It's like that. So it has that Dark Souls-esque feel to it. I definitely really enjoyed it. And I definitely think that it's worth being part of Game of the Year. It's a very good game. And even though it's published by EA, Respawn is the ones who developed it, and they pushed it through, and it's good. And I think they deserve credit for honestly doing right by Star Wars fans, because we have been honestly burned by Battlefront 1 and 2. And like Battlefront 2 is finally, after 2 years, has become like the game that, like, all right, this game is now good. It's now enjoyable. You can play as every hero out of the gate. You don't have to go through loot boxes in order to unlock them. You just have all of them. And they keep adding content. They've actually just added the Rise of Skywalker DLC to it for free.
But yeah, no, I was a defender of that game. I still am. I had some fun with it, but it was kind of a signal of the shape of things to come in a way. But I think, like, so the grand betrayal for me, of course, was Battlefield 5. But yeah, it definitely. I mean, Battlefront 1 and 2 definitely did not do right by Star Wars.
Yeah,
really, we have not had a good, solid Star Wars game really since, like, God, going back to we didn't really have anything on the previous gen. I mean, you have to almost go back to like.
You had Force Unleashed. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't count Force Unleashed as a good Star Wars game.
So, it was good. What are you talking about?
So, I mean, before that, maybe you have to go back to like the PlayStation 2 era, essentially, to find a good Star Wars game. But yeah, no, I'll have more thoughts on this, of course, after I start playing it.
Yeah, so that is one of our nominees. Next, let's move on to Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice. Now, we went ahead and did our watch along of the Game Awards, and this has won Game of the Year by the Game Awards. Now, have you played Sekiro also, or no?
No, I'm not into the Souls games at all. I gave them several opportunities. I played Demon's Souls, I played Dark Souls for a fair amount. It's just really not my style of game.
Okay.
I guess I did not like the mechanics of it, like the punishing mechanics of it. Where it's where you just lose so much progress when you die. Like I mean, like Demon Souls, it seemed like that was the harshest with it, where you lost so much progress if you died. And the game, of course, is designed around killing you and a lot of cheap deaths in a way. And some people really like that. Some people really like, oh wow, this is hard. I have to really memorize things. And it's like, okay, that's great. I'm glad you enjoy that. For me, for the average gamer, I think this is why these are always like kind of niche games in a way. Is that's not fun. It's not fun to just be like, oh, gotcha, death. Like, oh, you didn't see that coming. That's not fun. And they're like, oh, hey, by the way, you lost an hour and a half of progress. That's just not fun for me. So I don't enjoy.
You can get that back though, right?
Yeah, of course you can. But yeah, but like I said, I think Demon Souls especially really turned me off to that because the save points in that game or the kind of the progress points in that game are very few and far between. So I guess I was initially really turned off by these games. I know some of them are easier than others. I know Bloodborne, for example, is kind of held up as like one of the easier ones to play.
It's because it's all based on full out attack. The game is built for you to be offensive. Yeah. Instead of like dodging and learning moves.
That's great. But I guess I don't know. And this is kind of a hallmark of From Software. They tend to make these kind of punishingly difficult games. But what I liked about, like, for example, I'm a big fan of the Armored Core series, which is also made by From Software. And those games can be kind of punishingly difficult at times too. But what the fun of those games and what kept me coming back to those games was the idea of like okay, reconfiguring my you didn't really necessarily lose all your progress when you failed. It's just you weren't making progress towards like anything new because you didn't complete that mission.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well, let's go back to the garage here and let's reconfigure my AC a little bit, my armor core, and maybe if I do this and this to it, maybe I'll have a better chance of winning this battle. That felt more fun and enjoyable to me, even though I was still dying, just as much as you would like in a Dark Souls game, but it didn't feel like you were losing that same amount of progress. So I'm like I said, in general, this genre of games, these Souls-born games, I'm not really into it myself. If you're into it, that's great. I'm glad for you. But we all have genres of games that we don't really care for. Like in general, I don't care for fighting games as well, aside from maybe one exception of Tekken. But it's just really. It's a game that's not for me. I don't think it's something I'm ever really going to enjoy unless they really tweak it in a different direction. Yeah, I know I've not played it. I really don't have any intention to play it.
I will come back to that, but so with Sekiro, pretty much you play as
that was my complete thought.
Of course,
there's nothing really.
I know. Well, no, you said something that I was intrigued by, and I may come back to that. But Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, you play as a samurai, and pretty much what happens is that he is the protector of pretty much the emperor's, I believe it's son or daughter, and pretty much you get killed by pretty much one of the other samurai who's trying to go after the kid you're trying to protect. You die, but then you come back to life. You come back from the dead, but you have a missing arm, so now you have a prosthetic arm, and your job is to now kind of get revenge and.
Does anybody really plays games for the story though? I mean, it's
so. And again, I'm just kind of giving preface.
It's sort of like you're trying to describe like a Mario game. Well, Mario is this plumber, and he's in the Mushroom Kingdom, and there's this evil lizard monster named Bowser, and he takes the princess for some reason. It's like okay, that you're not really doing Mario justice. It's not really about that. It's about the game.
I was going to get there.
Okay.
You just interrupted me. Right, so I was going to get there. So, with Sekiro, it is made by From Software, and yes, it is another Soulsborne-esque style of game. But what makes this game very different from all the rest is that it has a stance system, they like to call it. So when you find an enemy, they don't have a health bar, they have a killing blow. So you have to throw the enemy off balance so that way you are open to do the killing blow to them. Some enemies only have one, so you just need to do one killing blow and they're dead. Or some enemies, and like bosses, have multiple killing blows that you need to get through in order to kill them. So you need to deplete their stance bar, and that's through parrying or continuous attacks. So there is the difference with even this game compared to Bloodborne is that there's a kind of rhythm to Sekiro that Bloodborne I don't feel has. Bloodborne's amazing and fantastic, but with Sekiro, there's a sense of rhythm to it. And what I really like more about Sekiro over all of the rest is that there's a sense of verticality in this game, unlike Dark Souls or Bloodborne, because you have that prosthetic arm that you can go ahead and like pretty much do like grappling hooks, like scorpion style, like get over here to other enemies, but you can also move up and move down, so you can go ahead and like, oh, I need to get up to this perch. You can go ahead and grapple yourself up there. So there's a sense of verticality to it. So you can also do like stealth kills to enemies. So you're like on a perch and see an enemy below you. You can then just do a killing blow straight to that enemy, getting rid of them. And then also with this game, the reason why it's also called Shadows Die Twice is that you actually get 2 lives. So unlike in like Dark Souls or Bloodborne, if you die, it's over. Your health is gone. You have to go back to the enemy who killed you, or go back to where your body was and find it. You get your experience back. With Sekiro, is that if you die, so if you lose all of your health, you actually have another life to go ahead and go back and do it again. But if you die a second time, you lose actually a percentage of your experience. That you have gained from that. Now, there also are, I believe, skill points just like in Jedi Fallen Order. So once you hit a specific skill point, you don't lose that, so that way you can get abilities. But your experience, like your whole experience as you're leveling, you lose a percentage of that after you die the second time permanently. Like you cannot get it back, I believe.
Yeah.
So there is a more strategy to this now.
I think honestly, I mean, yeah, like so my concluding thoughts on it. I mean, I kind of wish I would have gotten into this series not so early. Like, I wish I wouldn't have played Demon Souls. I wish I would have gotten in maybe with like a Bloodborne or even like a Dark Souls 3 or something like that.
Yeah.
I probably would have had a more favorable opinion of this genre overall. But Demon Souls was very, I mean, it was the original kind of style of this game. But yeah, no, I'm not knocking anybody that likes it. I don't have anything bad really to say about the game or the genre in general. It's just that it's just kind of not for me. I mean, I like it more than like a fighting game or like a racing game or a sports game probably. I think but it's just I mean, for me, I'm not the right guy to I'll kind of recuse myself here. I'm not the right guy to really analyze these type of games because I don't really play them and it's not really my jam. So
you did say, what I wanted to come back to is that you said that this is not your kind of game. Like yes. Sekiro, this didn't appeal to you because of you've been burned by Demon Souls, and then you played Dark Souls 1, and
correct,
that burned you also. So would you honestly give this one a try? Maybe even see, like, maybe this would fit you.
I would probably be more likely to play this or like a Bloodborne. Because there's sort of like, I mean, I guess they're kind of their own thing, a little bit separate from like Dark Souls. Like,
yeah.
If I got into like Dark Souls 3, I kind of would feel like, oh, well, I didn't play the other one, so I'm kind of like, I'm missing out on something a little bit. It was something like this, it feels like it's sort of like a fresh entry into the same genre.
Yeah.
So if I was to get into this kind of genre, it probably would be with like Sekiro or Bloodborne as my launching pads.
Now, what do you think that From Software would have needed to do? Like, because you said, like, this isn't your cup of tea, this never interested you. What do you think that From Software should have done, maybe to appeal to someone like you, who was like, nah, I don't want to do this.
Well,
it's niche or whatever.
It sounds like,
your opinion.
Well, part of it is I don't think they can really change too much because then the people that really enjoy this, it kind of becomes alien to them and they become divorced from this then as well. So I don't think they can really change a lot. In the same way that I think Armored Core, like I if they were to make another game, hopefully which they said they will eventually. I don't want them to change a ton from what it was before, and I know that's going to be off-putting for a lot of people because Armored Core is like that, where it can rub a lot of people the wrong way too. It kind of has a similar problem to Dark Souls in a way, but I wouldn't want them to really change much to this. I mean, I don't think they really have to appeal to me. I think it's okay to have games like this that only a small segment of people enjoy. Not every game has to appeal to everybody.
Yeah.
So I would say that I wouldn't really want. I mean, they do their own thing. I wouldn't want them to change this or kind of casualize this. If they want to make a game that's a little bit more I guess, more acceptable to a general audience. I mean, that's their thing. But I think if they ever did something like that, it would kind of feel a little bit like a betrayal in a way. Like you'd have fans saying like, "Oh, this one's terrible. It's such a noob friendly one." You know, they would be like, "Oh, this is not a real Souls game or whatever." So I think they walk a very fine line with that. But I think
they do.
I think they should just keep making games like this because they seem to be selling well. They seem to be performing well. So why would you stop making games like this? I just would like to. I know that they're a very talented team of people. I would love for them to revisit, really what kind of made a name for themselves with, which was the Armored Core series, which is I think was fantastic. I mean, you had a lot of games that's in that franchise, so not all of them were as great as they all could be, but I would love to see, especially with the new systems coming out, a PlayStation 5 Armored Core. I think that would be something I would go bananas over. But they already said that they would be, they are working on something for Armored Core, but we'll see if that ever actually materializes into a game.
Yeah. I definitely really enjoyed Sekiro. It's very different to Dark Souls and Bloodborne, and I think what really appealed to me and made me go, "Ooh, I want to get this. I want to get into this right away," is that sense of verticality in it that hasn't been done before in a Soulsborne style game. It's very horizontal, and you're dodging and doing that. Where with Sekiro, you can go up, you can go down, you can go left, you can go right, and do a multitude of different things. You can even that's how you can get out of battles too. So I liked how you can kind of use the environment around you in a much different way than the other games have. And then he kind of uses it still is very difficult that people who love the Soulsborne games have. It has the high difficulty spike, and it's more about learning the opponents, learning the game, learning how it's very much a fighting game. All these games operate in similarly to like a fighting game where you need to learn your combos, but also you need to learn how the enemies fight, so that way you can fight back and win. That's what I really enjoyed about Sekiro, and honestly, that's why I do understand why it became Game of the Year at the Game Awards. That's not a bad choice.
It's not a horrible choice. I mean, it's not what I can personally get behind, but it's not like it was like the worst choice they could have made. What's up next?
So let's move on. We're gonna move on to the next nominee, Control.
Okay.
So yes. So I know I've brought this game up before, and this is not actually I did not vote for this game. This is not my Game of the Year. Also.
Well, I definitely did not vote for this.
I know that,
but I'll come right out and say this, and this is not a popular opinion, but I was having this discussion earlier today too. When it comes to, I guess whenever I see, a female protagonist, in 2019 I immediately assume pandering. That's my first instinct. I immediately just assume this is a pandering type of thing. This is going to be a character that's, flawless. It's going to be a Rey type, Mary Sue type character. So I haven't, full disclosure, I have not played this game. I don't really have an intention to play it unless it becomes dirt cheap eventually, which it probably will. Based on sales, but I guess so. Immediately that was off-putting to me about this game. I immediately lost a lot of my interest in this game just because of that fact alone. When I see that, whether it's right or wrong, I immediately just assume okay, this is a game that's going to be pandering. So I am not. I lose a lot of my interest right there. And then when I heard that the story of the game is kind of this bargain basement SCP type of game where it has paranormal objects. I mean, this is kind of been done. I mean, it's an interesting concept, definitely. I mean, but I think it's been done better in other media. So I was like, well, you got this boring protagonist that's probably pandering, and then you got this kind of discount SCP story. So I immediately became like, oh, okay, this is not something I'm really interested in. Now that I've actually seen the gameplay of it a little bit, I haven't played it myself, but I've actually watched some Let's Plays of it between the gameplay, and the graphics. It looks like a nice game. The gameplay looks like it's kind of fun. I just, like I said, those two things about it immediately just turned me off from this game, and I think it's kind of what turned a lot of people off from this game right away. It kind of just was like, I get it. That's fine if you want to make this choice and kind of develop the game in this way. I mean, these are the developers. It's their game. They can develop it however they want. It's just whenever I see that, I'm immediately like, this is pandering. It's just like it's Battlefield 5 all over again. I guess I just question that choice. It's not that every single game has to be like that. There's plenty of games I enjoy where you do have like a female protagonist, but those are from a time where it was a lot easier to say like, okay, this is not pandering. This is just a choice that was made by the developers because they felt this was the best way to tell a story. It's
what would be, in your opinion, would be
prime example of that? One of my favorite games of all time is Silent Hill 3. Or not only do you play as not only do you have a female protagonist, but you're also this kind of like weak female protagonist. I guess that's kind of the main difference too, is that that character actually has some depth because she's not this invincible superhero. She's actually very vulnerable, and in that game, the game really is designed. Silent Hill 3 is designed around you running away from enemies. You're not some all powerful god character. You're actually very vulnerable because that's what you are. You play as a young woman. You're not this invincible superhero. And I thought that it was done really well. And actually, the character makes sense that you would play as this character because it felt like a natural progression from Silent Hill 1. Because Silent Hill 1 and 3 are connected, where Silent Hill 2 kind of does its own thing. Mm-hmm. So that I felt like that was fine. That wasn't like, and it was before a time of where we had all this kind of pandering. I would actually say even Tomb Raider was. It was like that too. I mean, obviously Tomb Raider, with Lara Croft, I mean, she's kind of put in there for the sex appeal part of it, but it didn't feel like it was she's there to just pander, and it's like this kind of girl power thing. You can make an argument that modern Lara Croft is kind of like that, but I think, this is a legacy character. Or same with Samus, for example. I think Samus was kind of like that too, where, she's actually a character with some degree of depth to her. I don't really see that in modern games anymore. I can't really point to any good examples in modern games. Modern games post 2010 or so.
I mean, for me,
I know you're coming at it from a totally different perspective. You think that there's no such thing as pandering.
No, there is such a thing as pandering. I just don't agree with that. Was specifically around this, where like, if it's a woman lead, that's
you don't default to it like I do.
No, I do not. I actually enjoy playing games that have strong female characters, and like Mirror's Edge and this game. But again, I don't want to go ahead to fall far too deep into.
Yeah, I mean, we could do a whole episode about that topic.
So Control.
I'm just saying, like, that's what kind of I think turned me off from it, and that's what I think a lot of people kind of saw it and was like, "What is this game?" And
I think for me, what about like why?
And one more element too. Just I know I'm kind of bombarding with a lot of things about this game, but one more element of it too, and I'll just come out and say it too. Is just I don't know. This is it's like a phenomenon I'm noticing with a lot of games. Outer Worlds. It's become any game developed like by a Western developer in more recent times in these last 8, 9, 10 years or so, post 2010. What is with this idea that every woman has to be kind of like, I guess, for lack of a better term, they just look ugly. Like they look like they look mannish. I mean, they don't really look like. It's like they're almost like afraid to put in an attractive female character. Like name one attractive female character from like the last 10 years of video games.
Lara Croft.
That's not from the last 10 years of video games.
Yes, it is.
Lara Croft is from the 90s.
The reboot of it. Fine. Faith from Mirror's Edge.
That was 2007.
Christ. Actually, Jesse from Control. I actually like that.
Well, yeah, okay, if you like guys, that's up to you. But
Spectre, come on.
I'm just saying, it's kind of funny because you can't name one. I don't think anyone can really name one for the last 10 years or so. Not from Western.
No, yes, I can. Alexandra from Odyssey.
Once again, another character that's very mannish in her presentation.
Evie from Syndicate, I definitely like her.
And I don't even know who that character is.
That's from Assassin's Creed Syndicate. You can play as Jacob and Evie in Assassin's Creed Syndicate.
But so obscure example we'll say, but still, it's like I can't really name really many at all for the last 10 years or so that from Western developers. It's different from like we're gonna get to with Devil May Cry 5, for example. You have like a trio at least of attractive women in it. Japanese developers, it seems, are not afraid to have attractive women in their games, whereas Western developers, it seems like it's something it's verboten. It's just they refuse to have them in their game. It's an interesting phenomenon, I think. That's another one. I've heard all these episode topics. I think that could be a whole episode. Yes, it could be. Yes, it could be.
Spectre.
Just because you don't like it doesn't mean it's not a trend.
Please, for the love of God, just stop. Oh my God.
You have to admit I have a point.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
In this, no, you don't. You don't. That's real. That's really bad.
The only example of a Western developer you could name was some Assassin's Creed character nobody's heard about.
What? No, oh my God. I'm not going to get into this fight with you, Spectre.
Okay.
Because it's literally not worth my time. It's not. It's just I'm going to pretend that. You were literally losing your mind.
Do you honestly think that having a female protagonist helped this game sell more? Or what do you?
It doesn't matter. I think the reason why the reason why the thing with this game is that I don't think it was like with sales. We're only looking at sales, not the quality of the game, because the quality of the game is absolutely fantastic. But with this game, like I remember seeing this at E3, and I was like, "What is this game? I don't know what this is." I want to know more. That's why I was intrigued. That's why I picked it up and then started playing it. I'm like, oh, this game is so much fun. It very much was very ominous, and you really didn't know what it was. Hence the whole SCP thing, that the sci-fi alien-esque thing about it. But like all I knew was like, I get to use psychic powers. Sweet, I'm in. I'm all about this. It doesn't matter. I don't care if there's a woman in it or not. It tells the story, and it told the story that they wanted to tell. I don't mind. I don't care. Tell me the story of what you want to tell. I don't mind that there's a woman in it, or if it was,
and I agree with you. I guess I don't want to have that perspective. I don't want to care about this. I mean, I feel like in modern games, and it just becomes it's an environment of pandering. It's whenever you see this comes up, it just feels like pandering.
I completely disagree, but
I don't think it's as naked and transparent as like Battlefield 5, for example, which that was just blatant, in your face.
Well, the reason why that didn't work is because it was there were a lot of historical inaccuracies where that game is built. Like EA and DICE were said, the reason why we built this game and made this game is that we want it to be as historically accurate as possible. And then 5 did a lot of things that were not historically accurate.
I think Control, kind of a better...
I haven't even talked about the game. We're literally talking about this.
I know. Well, I think it's important, though.
No, it's not!
Yes, it is.
Oh, my God.
It did have an influence on the sale. I can promise you that.
But we're not talking about the sale. This is honestly, the dark horse out of all the games we're talking about.
But what else is there really... like I said, I haven't played through it yet. But what is there else that's really unique about it or special about it that makes it stand out from anything? Why is this game special?
So let me get there. You literally started going on a freaking rant about.
Go ahead. Tell me what's so special about this game.
Okay, so first, let me go ahead and get here. So
because this is probably the one I disagree with the most on this list.
What, the story or whatever? Jesus Christ.
No, the list. The list we're going for the nominees. This is the one I disagree with the most.
Of course you do. You play as Jesse, who you go to the Federal Bureau of Control, and it's pretty much this big, huge corporate building, and she's there because her brother has been working at this bureau, but now he's missing, and she has no idea what has happened, and she goes into the building, and she finds out that the president of the bureau is dead, has been killed, and the only weapon that was there, shut up, Spectre, is that there was a gun near his body, and she picks it up, and all of a sudden she's hearing voices, and someone is speaking to her. As you progress through the game, it does have a Metroidvania style to it, where you are going through the entire building. As you get different psychic powers, the building starts shifting and twisting and turning, and it starts manipulating the building in different ways as you progress through the game. And it's pretty much a third-person action shooter, along with using the psychic elements to that. You use the psychic powers to make puzzles. Are you snoring?
Go ahead, keep continuing.
Oh, Jesus Christ, I can't even...
It sounds incredibly dull.
Oh, shut up. What I liked most about this game, and why it's on this list, is that it feels very much like almost like a Stanley Kubrick style of the game. It's so in like the way when you go into different sections of the building, just these big huge like words. So it's like the place that you are in. It's like the federal office. I can't even think of one right off the top of my head. But these big, huge, white, bold letters pop up from out of nowhere when you enter the section of the building, and things change and manipulate. And I love third-person shooters like Uncharted. So this definitely appealed to that style of gameplay to me. And you couldn't just like shoot them. You have to do headshots in some enemies. You need to use psychic powers in order to make them vulnerable. So there's a way that you have to fuse the psychic powers along with using gun combat in the game in order to get through it. And hence why this is on our list. I absolutely adore this game.
So you adore the game because it has white letters that pop up on it?
No, it's because of like there's a style to it. There's a style to this game that I haven't seen in a lot of games before.
Okay, well,
and when it comes to its gameplay, the gun combat with the psychic powers, it makes you feel like a badass when you're like taking objects and throwing them, and then like taking enemies and then throwing them around and using different psychic powers all over the place.
It doesn't sound interesting to me. Especially for a game that's kind of like this in sort of this SCPS genre. I think especially part of the appeal of SCP, if you read the stories, and this game is basically plagiarizing SCP, is that there's these horrifying things in this world of this literary world of SCP, and the organization SCP, that's what it's called. Mm-hmm. It can just kind of barely, or in many cases can't even contain these these creatures or objects or whatever, and it felt like there was a lot more sense. There's a sense of meaning or dread almost to these things. They're just barely. I mean, the SCP organization itself, it had kind of this mixed kind of morality to it, which is interesting in and of itself. But it's like they're normal human beings more or less, and they're trying to control these larger than life. In many cases, uncontrollable forces of nature, of the supernatural forces of nature. That's interesting to me. I think SCP as a story would be a lot less interesting if he had soldiers running around that had super psychic powers that could just...
they've been taken over by whatever force, this alien force has been...
Okay, and she's the one character that has all these magical powers. Right, that's how the story goes, I'm assuming. Mm-hmm. So,
because she's figuring out what's going on,
and that's just not as interesting to me. I like the idea of. I think the game would be a lot more interesting if it was I mean, you have to from a gameplay perspective, maybe it'd be less interesting, but from a story perspective, it'd be more interesting if you were just a normal person. Maybe make it like an RPG, and I think that would just be a little bit more interesting to me. Like, I'm just a normal person trying to kind of deal with these horrifying, in many cases.
So you would rather have it be a horror game than an action
Not
shooter.
necessarily even a horror game, maybe like a sci-fi thriller type of game. It doesn't have to be like a horror game necessarily. Not every SCP story is it's more some of it's more so about
what I'm saying is that you would rather what I mean is that one of the aspects I like about it is the reason why she has these psychic powers is because of this weird gun. When she picks it up and has it on her person, she has all of these abilities that it doesn't make any sense why she does.
I guess I don't like the I kind of call this it's a phenomenon that's existed in games since forever, but it's kind of like I call it the Dovahkiin syndrome, where you're the most important, special, powerful person in the universe, and everything bends to your will. the entire world revolves around you. I don't like that idea. I'd rather play a character or be a character.
You don't like the choice of the one, that you are the chosen one.
Yeah, I don't like that idea. I like the idea of my character having strengths and weaknesses. I don't like the idea of just being this overpowered Marvel superhero that is completely invulnerable to everything and is just the god's gift to the world, essentially. I don't like that idea. I like the games I enjoy are ones where you tend to be less powerful. Like the stealth genre is a perfect example of this. The stealth genre wouldn't work if you were playing as Superman. Like, because why would you stealth? You'd just be like, okay, boom, I'm just gonna fly there, snap this guy's neck and then fly away before anyone sees me. Like, that's boring. It's the limitations that you have in the game that are kind of part of the fun in a way. Like, take that with any game. Like, I mean, if you were, play a Mario game with, like, imagine if you were like, you could just run through everything. There's you could just no clip for the level. That'd be boring. And I think for this kind of game, especially this kind of story it's trying to tell, like I said, I still have to play through it, and maybe there's some things that are more that redeem this, but I don't like the idea of just being this one lone powerful superhero, and it kind of feeds into my pandering argument in a way too. I think the game would have much better play if you played as like a normal person, and maybe you had to kind of sort of MacGyver your way out of some of these situations. Like that's how you kind of handle these, and that's what happens in the SCP stories. Is, I mean, sometimes they have these kind of crazy solutions, and a lot of times what makes it interesting is a lot of times they're all these solutions they come up with, they fail. There's containment breaches in that universe all the time, and these things escape and they kill people by the hundreds sometimes. That's interesting to me. It's like we can just barely control or understand these things. That's fascinating. It's not interesting to have some god, Captain Marvel running around SCP.
Well, the other thing is that you're figuring out what's happening. You don't know why. Why do you have these second powers? What is happening to the employees or the personnel who work there? And all you have is that there are collectibles, like there are videotapes that you find throughout the game, and you find the doctor who, when you see these videos, it's actually recorded in real life. So the game is in CGI, it's all animated, but the collectibles video recorded of.
Here's the question I have about the game. This will help in my evaluation of this character that they've created, this Jessie or whatever. Is this character like Aloy? Like, where she is completely flawless, she doesn't make any wrong moves, she doesn't do anything morally questionable ever in the game?
No, because I at least not in my opinion. Like, mind you, I completely disagree with that.
Does she do anything?
Aloy.
You don't have to spoil anything, but does she do in the game anything throughout the game that one could consider to be like evil or maybe the wrong choice morally? And if the answer is no to that, then I just don't think that's an interesting character. And not that every character has to do something.
She's questioning.
Morally questionable.
For that, I wouldn't like.
No,
that she does an evil thing. No, it's that she's questioning everything around her. So she's kind of like, there's a team that haven't been infected by this alien force that she meets, and like she's going, what the hell is going on here? And she's trying to figure out some answers, and she's really not getting any straight answers. So she keeps going through the building and figuring out what happened to my brother and why did all the personnel and everything, like, what's going on. So you're
not describing her, you're describing what she's doing.
Well, then, like, for her, I don't believe, because the whole time she's questioning everything. She's questioning everything. She's scared. She doesn't know why all of this is happening. Like, she has, like, panic attacks, and she has to kind of control it. Like it's she like I does she do evil things? No, I don't believe so. Like, does she turn evil? No, but I do feel that, like, she has flaws to her.
Okay, I see. This is the problem. This is the problem you see with characters like this, is that they're always presented as perfect. Another good example I could bring up of a character like this that has some degree of flaws to her, and I hope we eventually see a third game in this series. Alice, American McGee's Alice, a character that is very much tortured, and definitely does some things that are questionable or morally kind of ambiguous in a way, but a character with some real flaws. She's basically literally insane. And a lot of terrible things happen to her. That makes her interesting as a character, and how she reacts to this. That's interesting to me. You know, a perfect, flawless goddess is not interesting. In the same way that Superman's kind of a boring character.
I love Superman. Superman's rad, and he does have flaws. I don't know what you're talking about, but anyway, let's move on because I think we have fallen down this hole far too far. So the next game that we have on our list of nominees is Death Stranding.
Oh God. So I take back before what I say about Control being the one I disagree with most on this list. Death Stranding definitely would be the one I disagree with most.
Now, why is that, Spectre?
Oh God, where do I even begin? Well, like I said,
please try to hold in as much as you can.
Full disclosure, I mean, like I said, I haven't played that game. I don't really have any intention of playing that game. Part of me does want to play it just so I can kind of pick it apart with more nuanced detail, like I can do, for example, with the Metal Gear series. I played for pretty much every Metal Gear Solid game, and I can tell you in detail what I don't like about those games and why I don't think they're very effective games in what they try to do. But I think with Death Stranding, it's basically the game is something of a litmus test. It's either you like Kojima,
either you love it or you hate it.
It's not really about the game itself. It's more so about its creator. It's either you like Kojima as a Hideo Kojima as an auteur, you see him as like, okay, everything he does is perfect, or you just don't, you see through it. Or I mean, there is a third category. There's some people that really enjoy Metal Gear. Like I have a good friend of mine, for example, loves Metal Gear, and I was surprised that he actually did not get into this game. I thought he was just going to give it blanket praise because it's Kojima, but he actually did have a more nuanced opinion. He said that he's still a Metal Gear fan. He just thought this was kind of a self-indulgent kind of game that was not it wasn't up to the standard that he enjoyed. But yeah, so I think this game really comes down to whether you enjoy Kojima as an auteur or not, and I'm definitely in the not category. I think the games are, among other problems with his games, are they're basically a cutscene fest. It's like watching a movie more so than it's playing a game. They have these kind of goofy anime-esque plots to them where it's just kind of absurd and over the top. He has a kind of a weird sense of humor to him. There are elements of the games I do enjoy. I do like the Easter eggs that he puts into the games. I think those are actually pretty clever in some cases. I think there's a lot of things not necessarily related directly to the story or the gameplay that are well done in these games. Like I said, especially the Easter egg side of it. I think those are actually handled very well in these games. They're kind of fun little things that he adds, little extras he adds to the games. I think those are done usually pretty well. But for Death Stranding itself, like I said, I kind of want to play it just to have more of a nuanced critique of it. But everything I've seen and heard about the game, it does not sound appealing at all. It seems like it has all the same problems as Metal Gear with the overlong cutscenes, the gameplay. For Metal Gear, it's a case of you have I could point to half a dozen other stealth games that do it much better. For this, I can't point to another Amazon delivery type of game. So I guess at least I can give some to one point of praise for it is at least it sounds like it's fairly original, but something original isn't necessarily good. He has this weird obsession with and fixation on Western Hollywood and everything like that. And you could see that in this game too, where whereas before with Metal Gear, he was an unknown. He didn't have access to big budget stars. So he kind of just sort of copied characters from John Carpenter movies, which is basically what Snake was. He literally just copy pasted a character from a John Carpenter movie, even the name of Snake. But now of course he's a known quantity. He's got big people in his corner like Jeff Keighley and stuff like that. So he can afford some B-list Hollywood actors to populate his game, because I think he strikes me as someone that always wanted to be like a film director, but just couldn't quite ever make it. So this is kind of like his next best thing. Like, well, if I can't make a movie, I can make a video game that's kind of like a movie. So and there's examples of that throughout history of people that didn't quite make it in their original field, and they just kind of went somewhere in a different direction. But yeah, to kind of wrap up my point about this, part of me wants to play it just to kind of be able to pick it apart better. But I've seen enough of it from gameplay and watching, videos of the game and stuff like that, that I know this is something that would not appeal to me in the least. Like I said, really, this game is just a test of if you're a Kojima fan or not, and I'm definitely not a Kojima fan.
So I've actually never played a Kojima game. This is actually my first one. I've never. I didn't play. I've actually watched my friend play through Metal Gear 1, and that was cool. But I never played it. There's a difference between watching watching a game and playing it. There's kind of a difference there. And this was my first time actually playing and experiencing a Kojima game. And pretty much the story with Death Stranding is that you play as Sam Porter Bridges, played by Norman Reedus, and pretty much he is tasked with kind of it's in a post-apocalyptic U.S., and pretty much everyone has been disconnected from everything.
His name is Porter, and he's a delivery man. It's kind of like on the nose. So.
But pretty much, there's this event called the Timefall, and there's these beings, these invisible beings that the only thing that can see them are these infant babies, and you carry a BB. They're called BBs, and there's in a little baby pod, and they can sense them, and so there's a little sensor that's connected to you, and it will tell you if there's if there's the enemy around that only the baby can see, and it's a really weird style of game, and it very much is either you'll like it or you're not. With the gameplay of it's very, very different, and with the one thing I do like about the gameplay is that as you progress through the game, you are going to be given different crafting parts like ladders and stuff. And what you can do is that you can actually build. So I need to get up to this cliff. I can take this ladder and go up to here, and then do this, and then do that. You get zip lines, and you can build to use those to get to specific points, so you can make it faster instead of walking the entire way. You get vehicles, things like that. One of the cool aspects of the game, there is a multiplayer aspect to it. And the cool thing is that people who have been playing the game will make ladders and stuff, and either they can really help you. So they've already played the game, they know how it works. I'm going to create this zip line in order to make it go faster. I saw a video where someone created a complete zip line mechanism. So whoever was playing the game, you could use these zip lines that this guy created to move around the world faster than you would be walking around or using a vehicle. I've seen other people, you could use ladders to move here and there, but also you can also be an a-hole and be like, oh, you're supposed to go up there. Oh, yeah, I'm going to put this ladder in. Oh, it sucks to be you. You can choose to help out people who have played the game or who are playing the game, or you can be an a-hole and not. So there's that cool multiplayer aspect to it. But the story is very it's different.
Convoluted?
I don't know about convoluted, but it's different. And I don't mind that it's different, honestly. I really don't. I like you. One thing I think it is very original. I've never seen a game like this before. But I don't know. This game is very different, but it didn't. I don't know. It's not gripping me like before. I'm very much in the middle. This is on our nominees because we have all put through in our votes, and this is a very different game, and it is a good game if you look at it in a specific way. If you take it for what it is, which is like you're a delivery guy going from point A to point B, then yeah, it's not gonna be fun. But like it's the reason why it's so different, and I think what the aspect that I like about it so much is that there's this kind of almost good Samaritan that you can be, is that you've played through this game. You can, if you wanted to, make it easier for people who are starting to play through the game right now. So like you won't see them, but you can go ahead and make these like little mechanisms and make it easier for people who are getting into the game, but you have already beaten it and you're doing all of that. And I like that you can do that. That's a really cool aspect that you can do. The story, very different. I don't know. I like the story is very different. I can't even think of a word.
I mean, if it's anything like Metal Gear, it's very needlessly convoluted. It's like it's very anime-esque, where it's kind of this.
Well, it uses a lot of metaphors, and I don't mind it, but like. You have to have you need to kind of figure out the perspective that Kojima's using. Like Kojima's an odd guy, and like I respect the work that he does, and he is a phenomenal developer, regardless of opinion. Like I respect that man for what he does, and I very much do not mind sitting through a cinematic that's like half an hour. I truly don't mind that at all. So.
For me personally, I feel that's obnoxious. I think that's, I think we're playing a genre called video games here. It'd be like imagine it this way. Imagine you're watching a movie, and then all of a sudden, halfway through the movie, at 10, 15-minute intervals, you're in the theater, then a book pops out in front of you, and you have to read 10 pages of the book to understand the next part of the story.
That's fine.
That's ridiculous. It's goofy. Or imagine you're reading a book, and then all of a sudden there's like a little video screen. You have to watch a 10-minute movie. It's like,
that'd be great. I love that.
That's stupid. It's just retarded. It's like
give me more story. Give me more lore. I'm all about that.
This is an interactive genre. Gameplay should be, you want to have this nice weaving in and out of gameplay and cutscenes and story.
I get you, and
or some games are just all about gameplay. That's fine. But if you have something that's
but also you can have games that are all about story. I like those are some of my favorite games.
Then that's a visual novel. That's not really a game, as it were.
A game is something that you can interact with it. So like,
well, I can interact with a fucking kiosk, drink dispensers at a game, or I can interact with a lot of things. I interacted with the door to come in this room. Is that a game?
All right, Spectre. Well, again, we are like, I know
if we expand the definition out to being everything, then it becomes pointless.
Well, look, I know where you said this is not your game. You are not a fan of it. Fine, and you can have your opinion. That's your opinion, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with you having your own opinion, and I can have mine. That's why we're here. But it is definitely worth being a nominee of the Game of the Year.
I disagree that it's worth being a nominee. I think it's like I said. It's a game that has a lot of marketing behind it. That's kind of the big push of it.
Well, this is not your vote. And this was one of the other members, and that's fine. Is there any other games before we get to our Game of the Year? Is there any other games that you enjoyed outside of, like, what would be like your personal favorite game outside of the specific Game of the Year?
Well, let me tell you.
Let me tell you.
No, I was like,
let me go ahead and tell you right there.
No, I always like that over the top thing you do with your hands. But yeah, no, definitely there were some kind of honorable mentions, I guess you could say.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I really, really enjoy, as I said earlier, Medieval. I think it's a game that is actually enhanced in a lot of ways by having played it before in its original PlayStation 1 incarnation.
Okay.
So I think that's a game that kind of gets a lot of bonus points if you played it before. I still think it's good even if it's your first time around with it. But I think it's a game that's particularly special to me.
Yeah.
Since I've played it before. I did enjoy. Came out about halfway through this year. I did enjoy Warhammer Chaosbane. It's basically kind of a Diablo clone of sorts. I would have to grade the post-launch support as like a D- or an F because it was horrible. We didn't get a patch in the game until about 4 or 5 months after the game came out. We're still waiting on the DLC. There's no real sign of that. But I mean, it took about a good, I just recently platinumed the game like a week or two ago. And that wasn't because the game was challenging. That was because the trophies were glitched. So
that sucks.
So that's always fun. I'm very familiar with glitched games.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it's just that really marred an otherwise decent experience. Because I wish there was more Warhammer games because Warhammer is such a fascinating universe.
Yes.
So that was an enjoyable game that's kind of under the radar. I don't think a lot of people played that. Other than that, like I said, really to be 100% honest, I didn't play a ton this year.
Yeah.
I was mostly on PC, WoW Classic and stuff like that. So I can't really think of any other like hidden gems that I didn't come across. I do want to try out. I have Untitled Goose Game.
Yes.
It looks like it doesn't look like a great game, but it just looks like a fun
game.
Just kind of goofy game. I was hoping.
Give me that Untitled Beaker game. Oh my god, I want that so hard.
Another game
play that. I'll pay top dollar for that. Anyway, go on.
Another game that was that was supposed to come out this year is actually revealed at last year's Game Awards, but unfortunately was pushed back into 2020. Is the kind of the remaster relaunch of the Stanley Parable. Which is that's coming to PlayStation 4. I was on PC. I played through it on Steam. Fantastic game. Really funny and humorous, but also kind of a neat meta commentary on game design. So I think it's really great. I'd recommend it to everybody that when that comes out. And I guess this version of it they're coming out with is going to be much more expanded. It's going to have a lot more endings to it. The original base game had a ton of endings to it.
Yeah.
It just was a really fascinating kind of experiment in game design. It's a very short little game, but I really enjoyed it. So I will be I'll be picking that up when that comes out now next year. So that's kind of my sort of under the radar games that didn't get a lot of attention.
Yeah. My honorable mention would be Borderlands 3. I absolutely adore Borderlands 3. It very much came out, and honestly, it did everything that it needed to do. We got new characters. It very much feels like Borderlands 2, but finessed and better. And I love the storyline. There's tons of end game content that's still coming out to this day. They've been giving out Christmas content because it's Christmas time. But the story was great. Is it as good as 2? No. I absolutely love and adore Borderlands 2. But Borderlands 3, very much it didn't really change much with the gameplay, and that was fine. It kind of took all the different aspects of prequel and 2 and kind of did the best with all of they took all the good things and put it into 3. The characters feel different. I played as Flak and absolutely adore playing as Flak. But Borderlands 3 is just so much fun, and it's so even more fun playing with your friends or other players. I absolutely adore Borderlands 3. That was such a fun game. But yeah, I mean, I like Borderlands. Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's kind of what I would think would be an honorable mention in that.
Okay,
so, yeah.
I mean, definitely.
I played a bunch of other games, but I think Borderlands 3 has been the one that kind of stuck out of my mind. That almost made it, but it's not Game of the Year material. The other one is Outer Worlds. I absolutely love Outer Worlds. It's very much, I know your opinion on that, but Outer Worlds definitely deserves an honorable mention because it very much feels, it very much is an RPG of the Fallout genre. I don't know how much you like that, and you're like, no, it's not. But what I like the most about it is that it gives you, unlike kind of more current RPGs where it just goes, okay, make yourself into a boomstick and call it a day. You can do that, but in order to do that, you need to take negatives. There's ailments and debuffs that you can take, and it feels more of like a living RPG than like Skyrim or even the more or even Fallout 4.
And I'll commend it for that because like I said, I think a lot of games kind of fall into that Dovahkiin syndrome where you're just like this unstoppable god that has no weaknesses, and I think you need to have kind of a mix of the good with the bad.
Yep.
I like the idea of playing a character of a class, and that's in a weird way it's more realistic because we're not in there's no person in the world that's just an expert at everything. We all have strengths and weaknesses, and that's more interesting to play as something that feels like a person than it is to play as. I mean, sometimes it is fun to play as an unstoppable kind of force of nature, but at the same time, I think when you're playing an RPG, it's kind of interesting to be something approaching like a person. You're playing a role, you're not, and I don't think it's really interesting to play as just a god.
Yeah. So,
unless it's God of War. So.
So let's go ahead and get to the final game. The Brotherhood of Geeks gives the Game of Award to Devil May Cry 5.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah! So, Devil May Cry 5 is the Brotherhood of Geeks Game of the Year. And do you want to begin this? I've been having you begin the entire thing.
Yeah, sure.
So, begin.
I guess kind of talk about my approach to Devil May Cry. I'm someone that really has enjoyed the games from the start. I started off with Devil May Cry 3, which I still consider to be the best game in the series. Yep. Went back and played 1 and 2. Enjoyed 1, not so much 2. But it was okay. It was okay. It was okay. And then 4 came along, and it did some things that I don't know. It felt like it kind of was. It really got off track, and maybe part of that was just because 3 with 3 it was like the highest point in the series, and all of a sudden you kind of just go to this mediocre game. It's just like pretty much anything was going to feel like a letdown after 3 because 3 was just so perfect. So 4 came out, and most people kind of consider it to be sort of a weaker entry in the series. It introduced Nero, and it was like, oh, okay, well, we kind of want to play as Dante, and that's the character we were familiar with from these other games. Like, why are you from this character as that we don't want to play as? So it had some flaws to it, and then the series essentially kind of sort of went dormant for a little while. We got a pretty awful kind of remaster or reimagining, I guess you could say, of the series with DMC. So the series really kind of went in this dark path where it became almost kind of, it felt like almost like irrelevant. Like, who really cares about Devil May Cry anymore at that point? 5 changed that. It really, the game feels like, for better or for worse, the game feels sort of like a love letter to the fans. You see all the characters coming back. All these side and supporting characters came back. The story is it's an ensemble kind of game where you're playing as Nero, Dante, and V. I mean, the story is very much centered on Dante and his relationship with his brother. Yeah. That's the driving force of the narrative, and it does kind of Nero's there too, and he kind of has come in his own as well too, as kind of a what do you call it, secondary protagonist, deuteragonist, or whatever the hell the name is. I guess that's kind of what gives this game special points to me. I mean, obviously the game is a blast to play. The gameplay feels great. I like that a benefit of the ensemble cast, having 3 different characters to play as, basically, is the gameplay is more varied than even 3 in a lot of ways. Because 3, I mean, you are playing as Dante the whole time, but the gameplay gets a little bit varied because of all the different weapons you can use. But I like that aspect of it. If each character feels unique enough in their own way in terms of their fighting style, I like that. The story is, like I said, it's a love letter to the fans. It's goofy, it's over the top, it's funny, it's everything Devil May Cry should be. It's not it's especially with 3, it went more of a sillier direction, and I think that's kind of a good place for Devil May Cry to be. Like I said, really what made this game special to me, though, is it kind of brought it back from the depths.
So with Devil May Cry 5, it's a continuation coming from 4, and you actually play as 3 different characters. You play as Dante, Nero, and V. You play as V. And that's the one character you don't know about. The style of the characters you play are so very different. Nero has all the different arms that you can use as and there's bullets to them. So once you use an arm, you can use it, and you have to kind of prepare yourself for the mission you're going to be going into as Nero. Dante has all the different powers that he has gained from all the past games. And then in V, you have kind of he has to play from afar. So you use summons in order to do the combos that you would do as normally with Dante. Nero, you want to be up front and go at it like that. My first Devil May Cry game was DMC. That was the one that I played from, I believe, Team Ninja or Ninja Theory. I can't remember. It was one of those two. That was my first experience. But playing Devil May Cry 5, this was straight up and down Devil May Cry, made by Capcom, made by the guys who did Devil May Cry 1, 2, 3, 4. And I loved this game. I fell in love with it. I love the combos. V is my favorite character to play as. I just love, how you kind of have to stay aback, and you have to, when your summon monsters, you have to bring an enemy down to a very pretty much down to killing blow, and then you have to show up and then press, I believe, triangle, and then V kills them. So you kind of have to stay away, but you have to get up to the enemy to kill them before they do a finisher. A finisher on them. There you can upgrade yourself. There you get these red orbs, and you use them to upgrade your characters, and it's so much fun. It's just over the top nonsense. I adore it. That has been my choice of game of the year for the longest time, up until kind of around this time, when we kind of had all the games that we've listed all come out at around the same time. And that was when I was like, okay, what is game of the year? And it kind of made me come back to this one, because one, I love action hack and slashers. I love that genre. That's very much my favorite genre. But it's the style, and you have to kind of create combos, and you have to learn the game. You can't just go ahead and square, triangle, triangle, square, 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 square. You have to learn the combos.
The game rewards you for having kind of a knowledge of its combo system, varying things up a little bit. That's something I've always liked about Devil May Cry. This, from a story perspective, and that's. And the characters in these games, I mean, it is kind of, admittedly, it is sort of almost anime-esque in a way. I mean, these characters.
I know how much you don't like that.
But at the same time, there's sort of a lovableness about some of these characters. Like Dante, for example, he's almost. You could argue as a counterpoint, he's sort of perfect in a lot of ways.
But he's an a-hole, and I love it.
He's this badass character that's he's sort of the most powerful person in his universe in a way. But at the same time, he's kind of a dork. He's goofy, and the other characters around him don't take him that seriously.
No, they don't.
He doesn't take himself too seriously.
All the characters feel so different, and that's what I adore about it.
And it's like if you took a Superman character, but instead of that, I'm about truth and justice in the American way.
I love Superman.
It's more so about just, I guess, kind of just being a doofus in a way. Just kind of being whatever, I don't know. That's just more fun to me.
And the story was great. I enjoyed the story that was going in, and I actually didn't play the past 4 games, so I had to kind of go watch YouTube videos of the story told of Devil May Cry, and it was like so that way I could get caught up to go like, okay, what am I getting into? And then I did, and I'm like, oh my god, this is so good. And the ending, like the ending fight, I'm like, oh my god, it's great. It's very much it's stupidly funny. It has great like that action RPG elements to it. You feel like a badass. Like, the soundtrack's amazing. I can't stop listening to that soundtrack. I love Devil Trigger.
Soundtrack is fantastic.
I love that song.
And really, I would say for anybody that's new to this series, I mean, don't worry so much about the story. I mean, it's
well, that's a me thing. You can. That's the best thing about this game is that you can actually jump into this game. Would it be better knowing that backstory? Yes, because then you can kind of have a better like, ooh, that's.
This is a callback to this or whatever.
Yeah, but you can jump into 5 and be like, okay, I know, like, okay, so this is Nero, this is Dante, and this is V. Okay, blah, blah, blah. And, like, it does a good job of, like, so that way you can jump into this without playing the past 4. So it does a good job of doing that. Would you have a better experience story-wise playing the past ones? I would definitely say so, but you don't have to.
Honestly, I would say instead of just playing all the past ones, I would mostly just play 3. 3, I think, was the watershed moment for the series where the gameplay was at its finest. I still say it's the best one out of the 5. I'd recommend everyone go back and play that one. It's the best one out of the 5 because that was where the gameplay was kind of honed and fine-tuned the most.
Yeah.
But it also marked the point where I think the game really solidified itself as sort of like this series that that didn't really take itself too seriously. Yeah. There's some moments in 1 and 2 where it's kind of like it's very cringy and over the top, like how like okay, it's taking itself a little too seriously. Like, oh, look at this angels and demons story that's being played kind of unironically to some degree. It's like, come on. And by 3, everybody knows like it's
over the top, it's stupid, but that's the point. It knows what it wants to be.
Yeah, it knows exactly what it is,
and that's what 5 is. That's what like there's a really good moment at the end of the game where it does have. There's a serious moment to it. It's built to be serious, but like really anything with Dante, anything regarding Dante's an asshole and he's an a-hole and like he very much like he knows that he's like kind of a prick. He's not mean. He's just he's cocky. He's very full of himself and he knows it because I'm that good. And that's what I like about it. And I love it. Devil May Cry 5 definitely deserves Game of the Year.
I
think I've said everything I need to.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably look at the game differently if DMC had never happened and 4 was more of a traditional game and it was more successful. But I love seeing kind of franchises come back from the brink. They're just irrelevant, and then all of a sudden, hey, now we're looking forward to another Devil May Cry game. Like, I mean, and a year or 2 ago, I wouldn't have said that. It'd be like, oh, whatever. Like, I mean, the series is dead. So I like seeing games kind of come back from that point. Yeah. And I wish more series and more franchises would be revived in a similar fashion to this.
So yeah. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please let us know what your game of the year is. If you agree with us that it's Devil May Cry 5, or maybe it's a different game. Maybe it's one of the nominees that we had, or a completely different game entirely. We would love to hear from you. But guys, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please go ahead and press the subscribe button and press the bell icon. That way, whenever we put up a video, we put up a video. Like, comment, tell everyone you know, share, all that kind of good stuff. We also are on Facebook, which is facebook.com/The Brotherhood of Geeks. You can also follow us on Twitter at Dualshock'd, B-O-G. That's the name of our PlayStation podcast, Dualshock'd, B-O-G. And then you can watch us on Twitch when we stream there at twitch.tv/Brotherhood of Geeks. I think we got everything covered then.
I think so. Yeah, no, it's another game of the year I can really get behind.
So this is good. Definitely a very different year, and I'm looking forward to 2020. 2020 is going to be it's going to be very different than this year, and I think it's going to be harder. This one was hard because it was kind of like it was very like the games were very different compared to all of them, and I think 2020 is going to be very similar to kind of what 2018 nominees were, is like these big name exciting games. These, like, again, we're opening 2020 with Final Fantasy VII Remake, Last of Us Part 2, and Cyberpunk. So.
And Doom. Doom is really going to be my game to beat.
I understand that.
To start,
So yeah. So anyway, I think that's it.
That covers everything.
Alrighty. Well, happy Christmas to all of you guys from us at the Brotherhood of Geeks. I'm Brett J. Rasmussen.
I'm Spectre.
And as always,
Live to play, play together. We'll see you guys next time.